Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Pure Cringe. This is the podcast by and for the Bravo TV lover. We are obsessed with all things cringy, from book reviews to recaps. And today we are diving deep into the land of recaps. My name is Maria McQuaid, and I am joined here by my dear friend, Michelle Barczykowski. Hey, Michelle.
Hey, Maria, again. Seeing you again.
I know we're doing this as a 1-2 punch. So it's like no time has passed for us, but for you guys, a couple of weeks. So we are excited. This is the Real Housewives of New Jersey reunion part 2. This is
episode 9?
Think it's episode 9. Michelle, I cannot believe this reunion. The first reunion part of the reunion I thought was like meh. This reunion, this part,
juicy,
yummy.
Yeah,
eating that popcorn. It's a schnackerific reunion. I think it was really fun.
Yeah, so I actually though I had a hard time like towards the end of this. I just got really exhausted.
Well, you know what it is? It's the reliving of it because it is so dramatic, and also because I think some of the explanations for a lot of things are so non-linear is the nicest way I can put them. So that after a while you stop giving a shit about what the answer is. You're just like, all right, fuck it. Not really that interested, but thanks for asking. So we're just going to dive right in. So this episode is really just a build-up to the why do we hate Danielle, or why does Danielle suck? That could be the theme of this, right?
Yeah.
So it starts with Andy talking about, how have the children reacted to the show? And basically everyone was saying that, the kids have reacted in a sort of nice, healthy way. We get a quick little aside about Dina's wedding. And I don't know if you know about this, Michelle, but Dina was on a reality show about her wedding.
Yeah, it was a VH1 thing.
Yep. And people were alleging that her wedding was a $1 million wedding.
Yeah.
And she said it wasn't, but there were 750 guests.
It had to be $1 million wedding for 750 guests.
Well, so this is why I wanted to talk to you, because I know that you've been married. You've also been a photographer, and you've done, I'm sure, massive weddings. What was the biggest one you've ever shot?
Oh, I don't know the biggest one I ever shot. Maybe it was like 250 or 300 people. But I've been to enough Italian weddings to know that, 250 is just kind of like, average.
Flirting. That's flirting.
You know what I mean? That, so I think maybe the biggest Italian wedding I was at was maybe, I'm trying to think, maybe it was like maybe 325.
I was just going to say, I'm like, for me, even the most Italian affair I've ever been to, which was where almost 90% of the people there were 100% Italian. Many of them didn't speak English. There still were only about 400 people.
Yeah.
So 750. What I actually wrote was, I wrote Dina's wedding, 750 guests. And then I wrote in parentheses, definitely mafia. Because even if you go through your huge family, and let's just say that he also has a huge family, even with work, there aren't that many people.
Right.
So who would these other extraneous people be?
Like necessary people, so that you don't offend them, right?
Exactly. Who has to come to the wedding? And it's not the guy that pumps your gas, Dina, but nice try.
So to tell you, this is a side story. So my friend Stephanie, when she got married, it was at a place like in the South Shore. So huge, one of those huge, it was like the Montville Plaza of the South Shore. But Montville Plaza is not there anymore. But big chandeliers, right? Tacky. I loved it. At the
tacky end, function house,
yeah. At the end of the wedding, like towards dessert, they moved this movable wall, and out comes like this, I don't know, like 50-foot dessert table with like a tablecloth, but with like pink lights under it. So it was this like glowing table of like fucking pies and cannolis, and was just like the best thing I've ever seen. I know. So I try to think of Dina's wedding with like
just row upon row of glowing tables with just amazing food.
Yes. Unbelievable.
I feel like she's like Queen Titania in A Midsummer Night's Dream, and there's just like fairies everywhere.
Yeah.
Just bringing her little cakes. I could just imagine this.
Except it's Italian, so you're gonna have like the whole tray. Not just
right. We got to have different levels of cookie. Understood. Yeah. I thought this was cute too, because we did hear about how Dina met her husband, and how Dina basically and Caroline end up marrying brothers. And so after Dina's divorce, Albert's bro Tommy starts hanging around a lot. And they
Yep.
start dating.
Yep.
And then that we have the does Dina think she is a bitch, and then her cringe reel. And then there's the battle between her career and being a stay-at-home mom that,
Mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, no one actually gives a fuck about.
About her, yeah. I'm
Like,
not
who
sure
cares?
that
Like,
people really think that she said she was like a designer for several years. Designer of what?
I mean, she's
She,
not Michelle Obama. Like, no one's gonna notice if you don't fucking work, Dina. Okay.
yeah.
Like, she's like, I don't know. Should I stay home? It's not that deep. Make a
Yeah.
decision.
You're
Not
not
a brain
beholden
surgeon.
to, yeah, you're not, yeah. Michelle Obama really, it's a big sacrifice that gal had to make
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, she's
two
not. And
times
then
in
she
a row.
talks about her gross cat. She said it smells like fries, which makes me never want to eat fries again. How dare she speak of fries in such a way?
I know, French fries,
What a
really.
fucking asshole.
Yeah.
And then we have the second time that she rears her obnoxious head. Jill Zarin.
Jill Darren, yeah.
Jill Zarin,
Yeah.
right?
What does she have to say now? I
And
forget.
so she wants to, like, she wants to know, like, what was she thinking, during the interview with that assistant,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it seemed sexual, which I think is just the way that it was edited.
Yeah. I think they did a little bit of an unfair edit because I had the
Yeah.
feeling that it was like they knew each other.
Yeah.
But
Because
that,
she asked no questions.
yeah. And then when she was saying, like, it's a slow leak, can you take other forms of payment? She's got that smile on her face, she's probably thinking like,
She's like, I'll bake you cookies.
yeah,
And
she's thinking like, would like a pan of brownies do,
right.
or like, you want
Which
to
would work
stay?
for me. Do you need
Yeah,
me to do anything around your house?
it worked for me.
I'm like, I'm happy. Any of your properties, Michelle, if you're paying in brownies, I am happy to do it. I'm happy
Yeah,
to do it.
yeah.
But yeah, I honestly feel like Jill should fucking know better.
I don't know why what was Jill doing at this point in her life? Like, why was she butting
I
into
bet she
this?
was asked to blog. I wouldn't be surprised. I
Yeah,
want to I want to give her like a fair edit in our minds too. I bet she was asked to blog, but like, of all things, this to me felt like it was an obvious edit. Like,
yeah,
that it was edited to look like a Mrs. Robinson
yeah. I think so.
situation
Yeah,
when it clearly wasn't. And I mean, here's the thing: if Dina was going to do that, she wouldn't do it on television, and she would find a better looking guy
yep,
for shizzle.
yep.
So yeah, so Jill fucking have several seats. Um Nobody cares, Jill. No one's, even after your thing with Bethany, nobody cares.
Yeah.
So then Danielle, it's her time for like a quick clip. And this is where, and I forgot about this, Andy brings up the fact that there's news all over the internet at that time that she and Don Johnson had had an affair.
Yep.
She acts super weirdly coy, and again, in my opinion, on Los Drugas, the drugs. Um, she says yes, and in the 80s, but she said that they hooked up, which, it means something different to every person, but what she's trying to say is that they made out.
Yeah.
And so then, Andy says that no matter if it's the 80s or now, Danielle is always the center of drama. And then we have her cringe reel. And so then when they come back, Andy starts to pick apart everything piece by piece.
Can we
And
just
this
sort
is
of
what we
just
came
touch
for.
on Danielle though, and like her
Yeah,
coy thing? That
please.
whenever it just, first of all, everything with her comes back to sex somehow, right? She's
Yep.
one of those friends you hate to have because everything's about sex. But then she does this like little girl coy thing. This little, yeah, well, I just like to make out and cuddle, and
I don't know why
yeah,
she thinks everything is a personal ad. She thinks
yeah,
that every moment of screen time for her is a personal ad.
yeah. It's the only time she comes out of like that drug stupor.
Honestly, do you see what I'm saying though? I feel like she
Mhm.
is, I mean, again, I don't know what she took or whatever, but if she's on a happy bean of some kind or 10, it would
Mhm.
not surprise me, because she just seems like she is someplace else while this
Yeah.
is taking place. And she resurfaces periodically to have like her own version of Ribbit, which, shout out to, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to tell you. You got to listen to the first episode to know
Mhm.
why I give my impersonation of Teresa. But yeah, I don't think she's present. But her coy thing is so,
Disgusting. Just,
yeah, like it's just unnecessary. Like, read the room.
yeah. Well,
Andy
she doesn't know
doesn't
how to
give a
do
fuck.
that. She doesn't
Andy
know how to
doesn't
do that.
care.
Yeah.
And this is going to be the first time in this reunion where she really shows us that she is on something and also deluded in her perception of her own situation in terms of being on the cast.
Yep. Which is why I love her.
Which is why this is so fun to watch,
Yeah.
right? It's the
Yeah.
reason why we're like
Love to hate
literally
her. Yep.
dissecting every single, this is one of those things that Bethany said that I do agree with, which is there are people you love to hate, like Danielle. Like we have those moments where we're like, oh, we feel bad for her because we know she's had a tough life, or that the girls don't really like her or whatever. But then 2 seconds later, we're like, Jesus, Danielle, why did you say that / do that?
Yeah.
And so we love to hate her. But then there are people that you hate to hate, like Lisa Rinna.
Right.
Or like after a while,
away. Yeah.
right. After a while, you're like, she's a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Like she's a mean bitch. Like, and
Yep.
that's not fun anymore. Like
Yeah.
that's when things are just not, it's not fun to watch someone anymore. Danielle still feels like, because she's so unaware of this, that it almost feels like a demented Lucille Ball character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like she's just like, and I think that she was looking for Jackie to be her Ethel. And I think that's she's still not over that.
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
So once we come out of that cringe reel, that's when Andy starts to like pick apart everything. He's like, let's start with the phone sex. I was like, okay, shit. I was like, let me sit down, put my feet up. We're going to start with the phone sex. And he's saying to her, like, nobody really talks about this. Do you have any regrets? And she's like, maybe. And then she goes, she wasn't really thinking, which I thought was a very strange kind of like cloudy, happy bean answer. And then she says that she believes that phone sex is the safest sex. True.
I can't even believe we're having this fucking conversation with her and her daughters. And
yeah, like I just don't understand. Like, yeah, I just don't get it. It's just, she could just. There's so many ways she could answer these things, but I'm Monday morning quarterbacking her, which really probably isn't fair. So then Andy asks what happened with Gucci model. And so she says, I'm dying to hear what you think about this. She says that he was there that night, but he was scared because of the cameras. Do you believe that?
Well, yes and no.
Yes. Do you think she told him that she was on this show and that it was going to be filmed?
She has no like filter. So I'm sure she said, I'm filming for the show and you're going to, show up, or either that, or he was going to meet her and he just saw all these cameras, right? I mean, it's not like somebody's like with their little cell phone, like photographing this. There are camera crews.
But she wouldn't have mentioned that to him?
I think either way,
so apparently he was there.
He was there and he chickened out, either because he knew about it ahead of time. But to be honest with you, probably he had to sign a release if he was going to be filmed.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know.
I believe he lives in the phone
with Jamal.
That's what I believe. Okay. I believe he lives right next to Jamal in the phone. Yeah. and because then she says that she never actually did meet him after that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Which for me, I'm just sort of like, so if you wanted to meet him so bad that you were going to do it on national television, tell your girls about all this bullshit.
Yeah.
You didn't care enough for it to happen when you weren't being filmed.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I see that point now. Yeah.
So I don't know. I could go either way, but like, I hate to say it, but Danielle has me. I am really honest to God going between these two, like an angel and devil on my shoulder. The angel is Dina, the devil is Caroline. And I have moments where I want to be like forgiving and kind to Danielle, and there are times where I'm just like, burn the witch, burn her. You know what I mean? Like and so it's a lot. It's she really does. She's such a polarizing figure. That's why she was such a great find. Whoever fucking cast her, hopefully they became very wealthy and successful.
Wait, isn't she coming out in some other show, by the way? You sent me something about she's cast in something else that's happening in October. Forget.
Now I can't remember what that was. Was it the Traitors show?
I don't know.
The new season of Traitors, maybe. She's honestly, she's fucking great television.
Yeah,
she should be cast in everything. You can't take your eyes off her. then also they bring up another embarrassing thing. So there really is, there's a systematic now dismantling of Danielle. What did
Mhm.
she think of the blowjob comment? The best she could do was he didn't come by every day.
See, and she does like that stupid fucking koi thing, and he doesn't come by every day. How
Yep.
about, just, forget whatever, Daniel, just shut up. Just don't say anything.
Well,
Don't
that's the
defend
thing.
yourself because we know you're a fucking idiot.
I think honestly, she could have
Prostitution
come
whore.
off
Yeah.
right. Prostitution. She could have come off so much better if maybe in two or three of these times she could have kept her answers like really short.
Yeah.
Like I felt like she kept going and going and almost undid the work that
Mm-hmm.
she did as she spoke.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so then Andy turns to Teresa and he says, "Hey, you started the season, and I think we talked about this a couple of pods ago, that Teresa started the season friends with Danielle. Like they were all friends, she and Jacqueline and Danielle, and
Yeah.
sort of what happened." And so that's when Teresa starts saying, I liked her, but then she started doing all these dramatic things and, things I didn't like. And I think Steve is a big part of this, and we don't really say it. Like
Yes.
I
She's
think that
getting
Steve
another.
hurt stuff, don't you?
Yes. Well, I think there's a couple things. I think there's the Steve thing, and that she is, it's unfortunate, but she's getting like the side of, yeah, she's hearing that from Steve because nobody else is privy to it except for her. But then also, I just think that Teresa likes the attention, and she's mad that Danielle's getting all the attention.
Yeah, because I think we see during the party, the dinner party, the infamous explosive diarrhea dinner party, that Teresa will also make these kind of obnoxious sexual jokes
Mm-hmm.
and
Seems
will
okay for
even
her.
be, yeah, and honestly, in my opinion, is far more revealing in the way that she's talking about it than Danielle ever was. With Danielle, it's almost like double entendre that doesn't work.
Yes, which is so
It's
frustrating. And with Teresa, it's like she's there with her husband talking about it.
Yeah, but with Teresa, it's like too much. It's TMI because
Yeah.
you're like, okay, we get it. You're married. It's great. Fine. But with Danielle, it's much more like, okay, we get it. You're desperate. It's fine. Um, and so, it's interesting that to me that like this this sort of escalates with Teresa to the point where she would be the one who was the most angry.
Mm-hmm.
When in fact, this whole time she's been, Danielle has been talking about Dina all over town, basically saying fucked up things about her all over television.
Yeah.
And yet Teresa is the one who loses her temper.
Well, again, I think it comes back to, Teresa is, she's been frustrated with Danielle, but then, she's springing for this big dinner, and, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. We're gonna, right?
No, I mean
Yeah.
it was a nice thing for her to do to invite her. And
But was she,
I wonder because Danielle says that they talk about this in the previous episode, the idea that there were other avenues for Danielle to talk to them, but Danielle I don't think genuinely believed that. I don't think she thought that they were going to come over to her house or that they were going to go out to coffee with her and talk
yeah,
about it.
it's as if Danielle
I
forgets
believe
that
that.
there are producers that would sort of egg
Make
this
that
along,
happen. Yeah.
right? I mean, isn't that how it works? So it wasn't like she was all alone, because she's like, well, no one wants anything to do with me, which is true. But if you had something to say and the producers knew about it,
Well, yeah, the
it would
producer
happen.
squatted under the table for a fucking hour
Yeah.
with a book in his hand. So yeah, they're going to make a dinner happen
And I do
or
think that
lunch.
was
Yeah.
really pretty ballsy of her to bring that book out. The
I'm
fuck?
sure they suggested that too.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Because again, I don't think she's capable of a long con. Because
No.
now what happens, and I think it's because she's on whatever bean, that she kind of comes, she kind of comes unglued a little bit. Because the last few segments have been about her and kind of like putting her on the spot. And so she says that she said all those things because she's nervous.
Yeah.
Like all those like kind of like gross sexual things, that she says those things because she's nervous. And I think some of that is true. I would say like 35% would be because she's nervous. I think the
Hmm.
other part is because she's needs attention.
Yeah.
Um, and so then Andy says, "Where is Jacqueline?" And I thought this was interesting because I feel like they hadn't even made cute eye contact the whole time. Where is Jacqueline and Danielle's friendship now? And so I think I understood this appropriately, but you tell me, because I feel like this is a little confusing as well. She said that Danielle got angry and hurt when she saw some of Jacqueline's comments in the show
Oh,
about
like
her.
the after comments.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, like the, well, I mean, I don't know what there was to be heard about. I mean, she said that Danielle put her in a weird spot, in a weird situation.
I think the comment she was referring to was when Jacqueline said that there had been a rumor that Danielle had stolen someone's husband or was a husband stealer.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think that hurt Danielle. And this is when Danielle starts to cry because Danielle says that she was cheated on.
Oh, so
And
why
that,
would she ever do that? Yeah.
right. And that Jacqueline knows that. And so that she was so hurt that Jacqueline, of all people, would accuse her of something like that when she knows very well that that's not something that she would do.
By the way, I call bullshit on that. Just because you have been hurt by someone
I was
cheating,
gonna
it doesn't mean
say,
you would, you know, people are
you're
by nature,
incapable of that, right?
but people are by nature opportunists. You know what I'm saying? So if you like something and you want it, just because you had it done to you, it doesn't mean you wouldn't do it. That has nothing to do with it. You want something,
Well,
so you're going to take it.
well, I think this is another instance of, what you mentioned in the last podcast, which is, I mean, a little bit of Danielle's inability to kind of see herself in other than in very like clear statements, right? Either like
Mm-hmm.
black or white statements. She's unable to sort of see like the complexity of
Mm-hmm.
the situation around her. She sees everything in almost simplistic terms. I feel like she's very like emotionally stunted. This is not a psychology podcast, but like I just feel like she's like neither of us have your degree is not in psychology, is it?
No, but I'm thinking she needs to
Mine's in
call into
underwater basket weaving.
she she needs to call into Esther Perel and do like one of these like massive psychoanalyst things. Do you know about that show?
No, but it sounds good. What
Oh,
is
these
that?
people call in with like the most fucked up issues, and she's this French like psychiatrist, and so she takes these people right in, and then she selects calls and she does the podcast with them like in an analysis, like over the podcast, and
Ooh, groovy.
it sometimes I'm just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, how do you not see this? Like, I just feel really bad for people. And at any rate, so she would be an awesome guest on that. Yeah.
I think she's still, I mean, once we're done, I would encourage anyone who has not seen Danielle's seasons, her, consecutive seasons after this on Real Housewives of New Jersey, even her comeback, she is, I mean, must see TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like she is, you can't take your eyes off her. She is so cringe. It's excellent.
I plan on going through all of these. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and she really is, she's a big part of it. So much so that the rest of this reunion is going to be basically about Danielle.
Mm-hmm.
So the next series of cringe clips, the next cringe reel is about Danielle and Dina.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's what we remember. We have that gross hug from, what was it, the first or second episode?
Uh-huh.
Danielle, Dina says that she's gonna, Silence of the Lambs her and wear her like last season's Versace.
Yep.
So after this, Danielle says, and this is like the beginning of her apology tour. She says that she learned a lot by
Mm-hmm.
watching it and didn't like her behavior on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And that Dina was hearing that Danielle was talking about her. And this is, part of what kind of fed into the dynamic between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then Andy asks, what about Danielle got the Manzo's sort of antenna up and like,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Their hate-dar. And Caroline says that, she had a problem with Danielle's campaign against Dina.
Mm-hmm.
So it really seems like it all goes back to whatever argument they had in the beginning, Dina not wanting to be friends with Danielle
Mm-hmm.
because of that. And then because of that, Danielle feeling hurt and probably embarrassed
Mm-hmm.
and feeling, instead of being able to like use her emotions and do the things, she's on a campaign to like just talk about Dina. And she wasn't talking about Dina a ton, but she must have said at least one or two things every episode.
Yes.
So I can only imagine what she said behind closed doors.
And again, I think it goes back to, I think Dina and Jacqueline were good friends.
Yep.
And suddenly Danielle comes in, and Dina could read Danielle for what she is.
Read her for filth. Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. So we wrap up that tiny little segment there just between the two of them. And now we move on to dun, 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 the book. Das Buch.
Yeah.
Famous, the famous movie.
Das Buch.
Das
Yeah.
Buch. Das Buchen. So we have literally the cringe reel for the book.
Mm-hmm.
And so afterwards, Andy says to Danielle, you had to know, and we've talked about this too. I feel like they've read our minds. You had to know the book would surface. Why not tell them? And this I almost buy. So spoiler
Yeah,
alert here for
yeah.
you, Michelle. When Danielle says, I didn't really know her, Jacqueline, for that long. It'd only been a year.
Hmm.
I didn't think it was going to come up. She says she didn't know that all that was going to happen, at the finale.
Hmm.
What about you? Do you buy that?
Um, well, in the sense that Danielle, everything that happens to her is a singular event and none of them are ever related.
Yes.
But then it also comes out a little bit later that it was like an enemy of Danielle from somewhere else that surfaced
Wayne.
this. Yeah, Wayne. Is Wayne a person or a town?
No, Wayne is a town. Wayne, New
Okay,
Jersey. Yep.
Wayne, New Jersey. Okay, so someone from there who doesn't like Danielle, and not hard for me to believe that someone else exists
You're
in Wayne
kidding.
that doesn't
Someone
like
else
Danielle,
doesn't like.
right? And
Nuh-uh.
and the Manzos being who they are, they have a big reach, big connection. I mean, they own that brownstone. Everybody fucking knows them, right? So now they get wind of Danielle, and of course that's gossip is going to come out. I mean, I don't. Danielle should have just come out with it and said, here's the book, this is what happens. And so, now Carolyn goes into this, we investigated. I love this. We investigated you. We investigated you. Yeah.
Well, that's, it's the thing. I mean, Andy asked the questions about the book, and one of my favorite, I think my favorite question he asks the entire series of reunions is, who is Beverly Merrill? I feel like it's like an old-fashioned TV show. So, of course, that's Danielle's real name.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about like all of the things that she was accused of doing, says that her ex-husband accused her of being a pathological liar.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is where she kind of goes a little off. And again, I think her beanage might be kicking in. She
Well,
might might have overbeaned. She might have overbeaned.
either that or the beanage is starting to wear off after like 5 hours or so. And she
Oh,
didn't bring
Michelle.
any to re-up. Oh, I know. I've been on the beanage. I've been
Clever.
on several of them, and I know how they operate. So to me, I think like she was just kind of waking up from it.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. So good point. Either not enough beanage or too much beanage.
Mm-hmm.
And she starts talking about the story of abuse by her husband.
Mm-hmm.
You can
And
hear
she
us
does
talk.
this. She does
Yeah,
this. She does. She
she basically
cries. Yeah.
blows her load about her book. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't listened to it. By now, our review of her book, The Naked Truth, will have dropped. Go check that out. But she talks, I mean, she gets really graphic, Michelle.
Yeah, she does.
Like in a way that I was just like, I think everybody was Dina and literally every shot, except of course Teresa, who was like, ribbit.
And
Everyone else was like wincing when she was like talking about being raped by 8, left home, and
mm-hmm.
so all of a sudden, she turns to the other couch and starts crying and says, little, and she's saying this to Dina, to Caroline, to Jacqueline, maybe one day they'll see her heart, because she's telling them that they're so lucky because they've had families and she had nothing. And she wasn't as lucky as they were to have these beautiful families. How did
That's
you
a
feel about this,
tactic. That's
Michelle?
a tactic to use when you want to sort of deflect everything off of you and like do a whopping topic change. So that's just she's just trying to back her way out of it. She does a lot of backtracking through this, right? A lot of walking back. And I think this is just her way of, she's trying
Just
to,
another stop on her apology tour, just another facet.
I mean, and she's also trying to elicit sympathy.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is a tactic. So, and, I think they see through it.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Nobody was comforting her. Nobody rushed across to comfort her.
No.
And literally Teresa was right next to her and riveted. So
Yeah.
if Teresa didn't pay attention, why would anyone else? Then Andy, new change. And Andy is so funny. Like, he really is the Barbara Wawa. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he will get the tears out of someone and he's like, how are your kids taking it? And so then this is another, right? Like, he says the most horrible things. He's like, so how are those two beautiful girls? How are their boobs?
Oh my God, he's like my mother. My mother was always one to ask the hard questions. Like,
Really?
yes, and she got her answers. She did. But of course, like I'd be there like cringing, you know what I mean, to the side, like, telling her like,
I always
stop,
saw your
stop
mother as
it.
Dolly Levi in my mind. I don't know why. She's Dolly Levi. Yeah, I thought it was very interesting because she said that the kids were incredible. she says that in public, and she also reiterates that whole thing that she said in the beginning about the kids being able to handle any situation, making it sound like this was like a training ground for them.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
very fucking strange.
No, this is like fucking like S&M anal training kind of thinking.
Right.
You know what I
Like
mean? It's
fucking
like, no, I don't think so.
yeah, I put my kids in a vat full of alligators just so that they could learn how to swim faster.
Yeah.
And so she says in public, people are very kind to her. And you see a shot of Caroline rolling her eyes. She's like,
I
what the
know.
fuck? And then
Yeah.
she turns into fucking Ramona. She's like, it's like an aphrodisiac for me. I just want more.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote, she is a black hole of need.
She is, yes.
Can never fill it. Like there's not enough love, adoration, praise. Like her love language is everything.
Yeah.
Like it's not like one specific thing. It's everything all the time. She must be just exhausting to be in a relationship with, even a friendship.
Sure. I'm sure.
And then literally Andy says, where is your ex-husband? And she says she doesn't know, but she thinks that he should hide from her fans. And I almost dropped my soda at that moment.
Because she gets so much warmth and love out in public, and
She
people
does.
people
love her.
investigating for her something.
Yeah, they might be investigating. They might be, I've heard that the guardian angels are really big fans of Danielle's, and I think they're going to start taking to the subways looking for Kevin Marr. Yeah, I mean, this is so diluted.
Yeah.
It's so fucked up. So Andy switches again, and he starts talking again about something super light, which is of course Dina acting like a chicken at the fucking dinner,
right?
like
Yeah,
cluck, 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 running over here, cluck,
she's
cluck,
dying.
running over here.
Yeah.
And so she said, and then she was just sort of saying that she was being with the people that she felt like were being attacked.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, again, hearkening back to your original opinion about Caroline kind of running the show, Caroline jumps in and is like, oh, this isn't about me, but I'd like to say something. And that Caroline said that she just saw the finale, which I thought was interesting. She just saw the table flip scene.
Mm-hmm.
And said that she was mortified because her mother will see it and that her mother doesn't deserve it and that she did nothing wrong.
This Caroline.
What do you think here?
Caroline just always comes back to this family protocol, that things are supposed to be done a certain way. I don't think she has any room for any difference of opinion. I just think things, I don't know. I don't really get it. I mean, it's a very old style way of thinking, right? Like real old school. Like, what will the neighbors think kind of thing?
Well, yeah. And like, why would your mother watch it? Like, if your mother is like that old, why the fuck is she watching the Real Housewives of New Jersey?
Yeah.
I mean, like my mother wouldn't watch it. I don't know. I just think it's weird. And that the fact that, that's it. Everything that Caroline says to me is like, the subtext is like, we're definitely in the mafia.
Oh God, yeah.
So we come back another segment. Andy jumps right into Jacqueline. He says, you stood by your friends. What did it do to your relationships? And then that's where Jacqueline says, and I thought this was really interesting, that she misunderstood what was being said. So suddenly she doesn't understand what was being said. That's why she was yelling at Dina. And she misunderstood that Dina never showed anyone the book.
Yeah, there's a lot of walking back. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Do you think that was definitely, do you think that she could have misunderstood or?
She could have, or in retrospect, you know what I mean? The ladies sitting on either side of her could have been feeding her the narrative.
Yeah. Right? Well, that's what I wonder how much of this was coached.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of coachable moments here.
Yeah, I think that for Caroline, everything is a coachable moment.
Yeah.
So then Andy says to Danielle, I mean, his questions are really sometimes, they're like a sometimes not so subtle fuck you. He says, how is the car ride home? So Danielle said she had to be driven home because she had a slight nervous breakdown. And then they are, talk about like her, cuddling with her daughters, and it was just a whole
kind of person
thing.
Who's got children because they
so codependent.
Her, right?
Yeah, she's like codependent. Can you be codependent with your kids? Is that a thing?
Yes. Oh, yes. And their sole purpose is to cuddle. And then I don't know, she went into this whole fucking thing about the thunderstorms outside, and they're watching TV and they're cuddling for a couple of days, and she gets all this little girl coyish, cutesy thing again.
Yeah, maybe more beans. Maybe she had beans at the break.
Yeah,
bean break. Yeah, it was something fucked up strange. And then we move right then to Caroline, and then Andy says to Caroline, you were the one who showed the book to your family. She says that they Googled the books. They talk a little bit more about the process.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole big like cover story. I think you're right. It sounds very much like there is some truth to it. Caroline says that she picked the book up and that she didn't like Danielle at first and then disliked her more after
Mm-hmm.
reading the book.
Mm-hmm.
And that Caroline brought the book to the salon and that it
But
was an investigation.
sorry. Also, the other thing I want to say is maybe the book doesn't say a lot about Caroline, but the guy writing it is clearly a prick, right? So
Oh,
Caroline's
yeah,
just so what the subtext is Caroline is like this is the kind of people that
I believe.
Danielle hangs out with. So
Yeah,
it doesn't reflect well on her.
right.
Danielle is not seeing that. No.
Well, no, she doesn't. Like, she doesn't recognize. I don't think. I think another theme for Danielle, especially for the season, has been publicly. Maybe privately, it's different, but publicly, we haven't seen her take a lot of accountability. There's
No.
been a lot of wrong place at the wrong time stuff,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Which doesn't really fly. And so, Caroline wanted Danielle to know that it was an investigation, and she wanted to actually meet with Danielle. Wasn't this interesting? She wanted to meet with her in person to confirm everything, but Danielle didn't show up.
That's right. Yes.
Which I thought was really interesting. And then we have a split screen with Danielle and Caroline.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the idiots version then of the final courtroom scene in A Few
Yeah.
Good Men.
Yeah.
Because one's like, I want the truth. You can't handle the truth, right? And it's like a whole fucking situation.
Uh-huh.
I wanted the truth, right? But then Danielle said she had proof, but it was like hearsay about Dina saying things. It's this whole swirl about Danielle still like sort of clinging to the fact that like she was fed information.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows that now that she shouldn't have listened to those people and that she said it was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she had time to reflect on the season and realize she was being fed lies about Dina.
Mm-hmm.
She says she should have gone to the source, Dina, to sort of confirm or deny all this stuff.
Yep. Yep.
What are your thoughts, Michelle? Do you feel that that's bullshit or is that real for you?
In
Do you
Danielle's
feel like it
world,
stopped three? Does it stop three on the apology tour or?
yeah, I think it's top three.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think she sees that like she doesn't have any other choice. She can continue. Andy wants to wind it up, right? He wind it up. He's got to bring the whole reunion to an end, right? So maybe
Well, that's the thing, and
yeah.
he's trying to do that. He's saying to Dina, "How do you feel about Danielle now that she's apologized?" And Dina's very gracious, to her credit.
She is
accepts the
very
apology.
gracious. Very. I was very surprised.
It's the Cobalt. She's a goddess in Cobalt. She says she's willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. And then
Because she was in a
Caroline
bad
says,
place.
"Yeah."
Right.
Then Caroline says, "Too much has gone down to forgive."
Right. This is a whole other thing. Do you actually know what they're
I do, my darling.
okay? I think I know
Okay.
what this issue is, but
Okay.
I might have the wrong bit because there's so much shit that Danielle does. I may have read the wrong thing.
So we'll get there in 2 seconds. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden, so Jacqueline says that she didn't know that something had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I thought, did she accuse her of approaching someone to hurt Dina?
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought at first.
And then Caroline loses her shit and starts crying and says that Danielle can apologize. She can say that she's grown. But then Caroline leans over and her eyes are open wicked wide.
Yes.
She's full on Ernest Borgnine in her winter outfit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not buying it. You know what you did. And then she gets really amped up and she's like, I am not fake. And then she goes, what you did. And then she starts like, just her face just melts from her eyes down. Finger at Danielle. You are garbage.
Mm-hmm.
I love my family and I will protect them with everything I have. You are disgraceful. And she starts sobbing.
Yeah.
Danielle is expressionless.
Yeah.
Teresa, rivet.
So either Danielle really is clueless as to what the problem is, or she is doing a really good job.
It's very interesting because you can tell Andy is trying to wrap it up, to your point. And so he's trying to like prod them, I think. And Caroline says, I will never forgive her. And she says to Danielle, you will never be a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And Dina tries to like diffuse the situation. She keeps saying, but nothing came out of it.
I'm so shocked that she said that nothing came out of it. Like, what two different personalities? And and I do have to wonder, what the fuck is it that Caroline is trying to hide from the world because she's so defensive of her family? Like, what's going on?
Anyway, so literally once Dina says that, like Dina is literally like the Madonna, right? She's like, but nothing came out of it, my
Yeah.
child. And Caroline is like, I don't care. She tried. And then Caroline says to Dina, you are a much better person than I am, but I am tough as balls. But
Mm-hmm.
let me tell you something. This is beyond, and we all know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, Michelle, that all being said, do you know what it is?
Well, is it the thing about the media release for the daughter and the husband?
Yes.
Yeah.
And trying to get to put Dina in a position where she might potentially lose custody of Lexi.
Yeah. Yeah. So Dina forged the media
Allegedly.
release allegedly.
So,
Yeah.
so she didn't, but not Jacqueline, pardon me, Danielle kind of reached out to Lexi's father because he was
Oh,
not
so
happy
she
once.
directly reached out. Oh my fucking god.
Yeah,
Look
yeah.
at you.
Hold please. I will read you my little sitch.
Holy shit.
Hold please. Hold please. Hold please. Yes. So basically what she says is that Lexi was 12 years old at the time and had to have parental permission to be in the show. Both Dina and her ex-husband gave that permission. But after Dina's ex saw some of the footage, he changed his mind about allowing Lexi to perform in the show. And according to Dina, that's when Danielle stepped in and tried to ruin her life. She told my ex's family that I'd actually forged his signature, which I did not, Dina said. She knew she could work on his emotions, so she supplied him with every phone number of everyone he'd need to follow through the lawsuit. Contacts at Bravo, our production crew, and her attorneys. She thought more would come of it, like I could lose custody. She just wanted to hurt me.
Wow. So she provided all those phone numbers, all that contact. Wow.
That was from distractify.com.
Distractify. Okay.
Yeah, so I thought that was really interesting. That and I can see now why Caroline would be upset, but not why she would like lose her shit, because clearly Dina is, she's like, don't worry about it. But that's the reason. And so Andy tries to wrap it up and they can't really, because of course Caroline is sobbing.
Yeah.
Right. There's no real way. It just sort of ends with him saying that it was like a fun season. It was fun watching them.
Yeah. Oh, that's so crazy. That is so crazy. Well, again, I mean, Caroline, she was on her campaign to protect the family. If I hear one more fucking time about how she'll go
I know.
head to head, toe to toe, she's
Did
got
anyone
balls.
ask her to? Jesus Christ.
She's gonna fucking defend everybody to the end. They're all gonna be sitting there at the table. You won't be. I mean, she's really, I don't know.
I feel like she's fighting a fight that no one even asked her to show up to.
Yeah, that's the thing.
All these people are adult people. That's why I'm saying, like, I keep going back to that dance class, but I feel like for me, that is indicative of the fact that she gets involved in things where no one is asking her to.
Yeah.
Nobody, he didn't come back traumatized. Dina didn't come to her, begging her for her help. Dina's an adult person and she was handling it the way that she wanted to handle it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how it ends. Believe it or not, that is the way that this reunion ends. Now, before we get to our categories, there is one more episode, which I'm so excited for us to do.
That's right. Yeah.
It's pure lost footage.
Yep.
I will say to anybody who has never watched it, I just kind of skimmed through it on my iPad just to see
good.
like, were there
Yep.
any scenes?
Yep.
There was a ton that I hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited about us going through it. So hopefully you guys are too. But before we do that, let's talk about our categories. So Michelle, for Cringe Mountain for this episode, for me, it was Danielle's entire cringe reel because it brought back all of the grossness.
Uh-huh.
It's like all the condensed grossness over all of the episodes with her.
Yeah.
In one thing. And especially the whole, should we go into the bathroom? I can't with it. I just
Oh God. He's like,
so for
eat your
me, that
dinner.
was the cringiest part of the
Eat your
episode. How
dinner.
about you?
The cringiest moment. I gotta say was, Caroline's like breakdown.
She doesn't cry pretty, does she? Kind of an ugly cry. Not
Who
a
does
cutie.
cry pretty? But anyway.
I don't know. Probably some supermodel.
Yeah.
How about fashion disaster? What was the biggest fashion disaster for you for this one? I know it was the same outfits, but it gives us an opportunity to go deeper.
I guess Danielle, because she just looks like a fucking cheap teenager with her Love's Baby Soft or Charlie.
Don't say that about Love's Baby Soft. I fucking love Love's Baby Soft.
You can still get it. Or Charlie.
Oh,
Charlie.
I want both. I actually have the same person. It's Danielle, but it's for her extensions.
Oh yeah?
Yep. It's those extensions.
Were they hanging out at the back or
They
something?
just
Coming
look too
loose?
long. Like I feel like whoever her hairdresser is just sort of threw them in and didn't cut them right.
Yeah.
Nothing looks like it's blending. It looks like a wig. I
Uh-huh.
thought it was
Wig.
it's just too much. Babe, I like a wig.
Uh-huh.
And so who won the episode for you?
Uh, that's so hard. That is so hard. I mean, I feel like everybody was just like a fucking mess. But Dina,
She looks
I'm
gorgeous.
she did look gorgeous, the great color on her. And also I was very surprised at what a forgiving person she is, which knowing what I
Yeah.
know about her now, I'm a little skeptical if maybe she should know better.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll put it this way. I think it's very interesting how Caroline is willing to go toe to toe with anybody for Dina, whereas she just wrote a letter of recommendation for her brother-in-law to try to exonerate him from that whole situation with beating
Yeah,
up Dina.
that's
So
crazy.
it's interesting how, times have changed and maybe, she doesn't go toe to toe. She's tough as balls, but
Yeah,
maybe not in that way.
yeah.
But for me, who won the episode? Bravo. They must have been like, after seeing this, Bravo must have been like, yes, like we need these fucking assholes in front of this camera again. Let's make this happen. Let's
Yeah,
find all that lost footage, right? And that's what
yeah.
they do for next week.
Oh wow. Yeah. It was good. It was
Yeah,
this was really good. So
this was fun.
can you just tell me though, because you saw this when it came out, how long after this did the info come out about the phone calls and the information that Danielle gave away? Like, do you remember
You mean the phone calls about to the
her ex-husband about Lexi?
let me look. Oh, please.
Because I'm
Because it
just
didn't.
wondering if people were like hanging, looking for this info.
No, because honestly, this was in 2021. So it's one of in the title of the article is what did Danielle Staub do to Dina Manzo anyway?
Okay. That's from
So I
2021.
don't think people really talked about it at the time because I think it was probably like fresh. We don't even get into it really in the next season.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Huh.
Yeah,
A
honestly,
cliffhanger.
Danielle, yeah, they weren't like people liked Real Housewives, but Bravo wasn't a sensation like it is now.
No.
Where like you could say to someone like, "Oh, I love Bravo," and you could like strike up an entire conversation with that person.
Yep. Yep.
Back then it was like two or three shows
Yeah.
on Bravo, and everything else was like, reruns of other
Yeah.
shows.
Right.
A lot of
Wow.
inside the actor studio.
Hmm.
12 episodes a day of inside the actor studio. Thank you, Bravo, for evolving so that we could do the Pure Cringe podcast.
Thank you, Andy. Really. I mean, he's the,
Thank you,
yeah.
Bravo Daddy. We love you, Andy.
Yeah.
Michelle, this was a good one. This is a good one. I'm excited for us to finish this up. We're getting close to the end of our season. So excited for us to, take a little break and put our heads together and come up with some goodies for next season as well.
Yeah.
We'd love to remind you guys to please like, follow, share, subscribe, do all the things. Leave us a review, only if you love the podcast. If you hate it, fuck off, obviously. But truly,
I would like to know if other people think that there are other good things that we should cover that we haven't thought of. Other good books, maybe that you and
yeah,
I have looked at or not looked at, I mean,
I'd love to hear about, yeah, good point, Michelle. I'd love to hear about what books people think we should be reviewing. And, if you're, thinking about maybe our next recap series, what's a great classic show that we should
mhm.
be thinking about? We have some ideas ourselves, but we are obviously always open.
Below
So
deck, below deck.
I know it. And I'm like, Project Runway, Project Runway. I'm just like trying to send that out to everyone right now, just sending vibes of Tim Gunn. You love him. You want him back on your television. We're going to start being sponsored by Peacock. Truly, this has been a really fun one. So we're excited for the next one. Thanks again to everyone for listening. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Yep. Thanks.
Bye.